So you can find alpha-linoleic acid in things like flaxseed oil, soybeans, chia seeds. Melanocyte-stimulating hormone stimulates melanin, is involved in skin pigmentation. So there's a lot of peptides that have been shown to regulate gene expression, one of the most effective sugars in protecting our cell membrane, and also really good for helping retain skin moisture. So face creams and things like that. The GLP-1 receptor agonists not only manage type 2 diabetes,
Welcome to our Q&A highlights. Q&A sessions are recorded every month, and our enhanced members get an exclusive opportunity to ask questions from one of cellular medicine's brightest minds, Dr. Elizabeth Yurth. Get a chance to ask your questions by becoming our enhanced member at bli.academy/memberships. You also get access to our content library full of tips, articles, videos, lectures, previous live Q&A sessions, and more.
So melanotan-2, guys, is a really kind of amazing peptide. So it gets its fame. It was called the Barbie peptide. It gets its fame because it helps with fat loss and it makes you tan. So it was like Ken and Barbie. And so it got all its popularity, and then it's got also a lot of criticism. But it's actually an amazing peptide for immune health. So it's not melatonin, this is melanotan. It mimics the effects of a naturally occurring hormone called melanocyte-stimulating hormone, or MSH. And MSH, melanocyte-stimulating hormone, like it sounds, stimulates melanin, is involved in skin pigmentation, but also energy, homeostasis, sexual functioning, immune system, inflammation, cardiovascular system. So this is a great peptide for people with immune disorders, for people who are having trouble losing weight, really good for improving libido in a lot of people. And as a side effect, good and bad, it makes you dark. It makes your skin tan. I am dark skinned anyway. I look really, really like a different race when I actually start taking melanotan. So omega-3s, your fatty acids, your essential fatty acids. So essential means our body absolutely needs them to function, and we can't make them on our own. So that's an essential nutrient, right? We can't make it. We have to take it in. And there's 3 types of omega-3s. There's DHAs, EPAs, and ALAs, alpha-linoleic acids. Only one of these is actually considered essential, and that's alpha-linoleic acid. And it's also the only omega-3 you can get from plants. So you can find alpha-linoleic acid in things like flaxseed oil, soybeans, chia seeds. And normally your fish oil capsules don't contain alpha-linoleic acid, so you have to be careful. So spondylolisthesis is a disorder, and it can be either traumatic, oftentimes when we're younger and people who are involved in sports like football or diving or gymnastics or dance, who are doing a lot of extension or a lot of impact activities, they can actually, when we're young and our bones are a little softer, they can actually fracture a little fracture on the vertebrae. Those oftentimes don't go on to heal, but most of those kids do well even if they don't heal. But over time, what can happen is because there's that little bit of instability, because the sort of the back part of the vertebrae and the front part of the vertebrae aren't quite joined, one of the vertebrae can sort of slip forward on the other. Peptides have a lot of actions, and one of them is their influence on our genes. So basically, we know that peptides can exert effects by a direct receptor effect. So they sit on a receptor on the cell membrane of a relevant cell, and that receptor penetrates the cell membrane, and then it creates some type of mechanism of action. So for instance, insulin works that way, right? So that is not so much a genetic influence as a direct influence on the receptor. But we also know that they have an epigenetic effect. So there's a lot of peptides that have been shown to regulate gene expression and exert their effects by either increasing or decreasing DNA methylation. So remember, the way semaglutide works is it's a glucagon-like peptide receptor agonist. So when you guys go and you do your Googling, one of the things you have to be careful of is not like Googling things like semaglutide or Ozempic. Google what it is. It's a GLP-1 agonist, because that's where all the research came from. And the drugs start getting sort of biased in their research, but the mechanism of GLP-1 agonists is not going to change. That's been going on for years and years and years. So you can look back for data of GLP-1 agonists forever. And we know that aging now is a disease, right? And all the diseases that kill us are related to aging. And what we know now is that the GLP-1 receptor agonists not only manage type 2 diabetes and help with weight loss, but they protect against oxidative stress of aging. They're involved in improving metabolism, neurodegeneration, cardiovascular, kidney function, even musculoskeletal diseases, degenerative musculoskeletal diseases. So studies on all of those things in the GLP-1 agonist. So trehalose, a natural sugar compound that's made in plants. When you stress a plant or a bacteria, they make trehalose. And studies that suggest it might be one of the most effective sugars in protecting our cell membrane, and also really good for helping retain skin moisture. So face creams and things like that, if you put trehalose into them, you can actually help retain moisture in your skin. You can use them as lip balms, things like that. but it's been studied numerous clinical trials now looking at its potential abilities to improve cognitive health, improve inflammation, improve joint health. It also blunts glucose response. So for those of you who want to eat something sweet, if you sweeten it with Trailose or a carbohydrate sweetened with Trailose, you won't get the big glucose jump. And I've tested this on myself. Ideally, I think you want at least 5 grams 3 times a day, so at least 15 grams a day. So there's not any data to support that you should do BPC close to the site of injury. Meaning, like if I have a biceps tendonitis in my shoulder, I inject it near the biceps tendon, or if I inject it, and you don't have to inject it into the tendon, although you can, you just have to inject it sub-Q near the injured part. So if I injure my knee, I'm going to inject it sub-Q close to my knee. There's zero data to support that. But anecdotally, people seem to get better when you do that. So they do seem to feel better when you inject it close to the site. Personally, I would say the same thing. When I've injected it close to the site, I seem to get better response than when I just do it sub-Q. But a study came out in Nature Medicine really recently, and it got all over the press. They looked at 4,000 people in US and Europe, and they found that those who had higher blood erythritol levels were at elevated risk of major adverse cardiac events, such as heart attacks, strokes, or death. Now, here's the thing. These people were not eating erythritol. So all they did was take people, they measured their erythritol levels. This was at a time actually when erythritol was not actually widely used. It wasn't available in Europe, so they were taking none in their diet, and was pretty limited in its availability here in the US. So when they did the study, likely most of these people weren't even eating erythritol. All they were doing was measuring their erythritol levels. So here's the key. When you are metabolically unsound, one of the things your body does, because it starts using a different pathway called pentose polysulfate pathway. So it basically, if you eat a lot of glucose and fructose, you convert that into erythritol. It's probably some type of rescue medicine or rescue process in our body in one sense. So it takes all this excess glucose and fructose and it starts converting it into erythritol.